The wallet that changed everything. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the cracked pavement as 14-year-old Malik Jackson walked home from school. His backpack felt heavy, not just from textbooks but from the weight of responsibility he carried every day. His mother worked double shifts at the hospital, and his father had been out of the picture for years. That left him to look after his little sister, Tasha, make sure she ate dinner, finished her homework, and got to bed on time. It was just another normal day, or so he thought. His sneakers scuffed against the pavement as he passed through the familiar sights and sounds of his neighborhood. Mrs. Chen, the elderly store owner, was stacking apples outside her small grocery store, humming an old song under her breath. Across the street, a group of kids played basketball, their sneakers squeaking against the asphalt as they shouted back and forth. A car with booming bass rolled past, shaking the air with every beat. Malik sighed. He had a math test today, and he already knew he hadn't done great. Numbers had never been his thing. But math was the least of his problems. He knew what was waiting for him at home, a pile of dishes in the sink, laundry that needed folding, and a little sister who needed help with her reading. As he neared the bus stop on Cedar Street, something unusual caught his eye. A dark object lay near the curb, partially hidden by fallen leaves. At first, he thought it was just a piece of trash, but as he got closer, he realized it was a sleek, black leather wallet. It looked out of place, too expensive for this part of town, where most people struggled to make ends meet. Malik hesitated. He glanced around, but the street was mostly empty except for two older women chatting outside the laundromat. Neither seemed to be paying attention. Bending down, he picked up the wallet, feeling the smooth leather between his fingers. It was thick, almost too thick, and when he flipped it open, his breath caught in his throat. Inside was a thick stack of crisp $100 bills. Malik's mind raced. This wasn't pocket change, this was more money than he had ever seen in his life. His fingers trembled as he flipped through the compartments. A sleek metal credit card gleamed under the sunlight, and there was a driver's license tucked in one of the slots. His heart pounded as he read the name, Ethan Montgomery. His eyes widened. He knew that name. Everyone in the city did. Ethan Montgomery was one of the richest men in the state, a billionaire known for his business empire, his massive charity donations, and his mysterious, almost ghost-like presence. He rarely appeared in public, and when he did, he was always surrounded by security. What was his wallet doing here? Malik looked around again, suddenly feeling like he was being watched. The old women across the street were still talking, oblivious to him. A bus rumbled past, kicking up dust as it stopped a few yards away. He could feel the weight of the money in his hands. For a split second, he considered it. Keeping just one bill, just one, would mean groceries for a week. Maybe a new pair of shoes. His mom wouldn't have to stretch every dollar. His sister wouldn't have to eat the same meals over and over. But deep down, he knew he couldn't do it. Stealing wasn't in his blood. His mother had raised him better than that. Swallowing hard, he tucked the wallet into his backpack. He needed to find a way to return it. But how? It wasn't like he had a billionaire's phone number. Maybe he could turn it in at the police station? But what if they just kept the money for themselves? He had heard too many stories about crooked cops in the neighborhood. No, he needed to return it directly to Montgomery himself. Malik pulled out his phone and searched for Ethan Montgomery contact. A corporate office number popped up, along with news articles about Montgomery's latest business ventures. His finger hovered over the number. Before he could press call, something made him stop. A sleek black SUV had just turned onto the street. It was moving slow, too slow, almost as if it were looking for something. Or someone. Malik's stomach tightened as the vehicle rolled past him. The windows were tinted so dark he couldn't see inside. A chill crept up his spine. Had someone seen him pick up the wallet? No. That was ridiculous. Still, a nagging feeling in the back of his mind told him something wasn't right. He took a deep breath and pressed call. A woman's voice answered after 2 rings. Montgomery Industries, how may I direct your call? Malik hesitated. Then, clearing his throat, he said, hi. My name is Malik. I found something that belongs to Mr. Montgomery. A wallet. There was a pause. Then, hold, please. He waited. The seconds stretched on, and just as he was about to hang up, the line clicked again. A deep, gravelly voice came through. This is Ethan Montgomery. Malik's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't expected to talk to the man himself. Sir. I found your wallet near Cedar Street. I wanted to return it. Silence. Then Montgomery spoke, his tone unreadable. Where exactly did you find it? Malik swallowed. Near the bus stop. I didn't take anything, sir. It's all here. Another pause. Then, a slow exhale. Good. Something about his voice sent a shiver through Malik's spine. I'll send someone to pick it up, Montgomery said. Text me your address. Malik hesitated. His address? No way. His gut told him that wasn't a good idea. I can meet somewhere, he offered instead. Another long pause. Then, fine. Send me the location. The line went dead. Malik exhaled, his hands shaking as he typed out the address of a grocery store down the street instead of his home. Just to be safe. 3 hours later, that same black SUV pulled up outside his school. And that's when he knew, he had just stepped into something way bigger than himself. This version expands on Malik's inner conflict, the setting, and the suspense of discovering the wallet. It also builds tension with the mysterious SUV, making the reader feel like something dangerous is looming, the black SUV. The afternoon sun had begun to dip below the rooftops, bathing the schoolyard in hues of orange and gold. The final bell had rung an hour ago, and most students had already left. Malik lingered, sitting on the school's front steps, his backpack at his feet. His mind raced. That phone call with Ethan Montgomery had left him uneasy. Something about the man's voice, calm, measured, yet unreadable, felt off. And then there was the black SUV. He had spotted it twice now, once near Cedar Street and again as he left school. Coincidence? Malik wasn't sure. A breeze rustled the trees lining the sidewalk, carrying the distant sound of laughter from a group of kids playing basketball. A car horn honked somewhere in the distance. Life in his neighborhood continued as usual. But Malik couldn't shake the feeling that his life had just shifted, like he had unknowingly stepped onto a path he couldn't turn back from. Then, he saw it. The same black SUV from earlier. It moved slowly, gliding down the street like a predator stalking its prey. Its windows were still tinted impossibly dark, making it impossible to see who was inside. Malik's breath caught in his throat. It came to a stop directly in front of the school gates. 2 men stepped out. They were dressed in black suits, their crisp white shirts barely visible beneath their tailored jackets. Malik knew right away, they weren't ordinary drivers. Everything about them screamed money, power, and something else, something dangerous. One of the men, a tall figure with a buzzed haircut and a sharp jawline, scanned the schoolyard. His eyes landed on Malik. The second man, shorter but just as intimidating, murmured something into an earpiece. Malik's pulse pounded. What did they want? They started walking toward him, their footsteps measured, unhurried. Instinct screamed at Malik to run, but he forced himself to stay put. If he ran, it would look suspicious. Act normal. You didn't do anything wrong. The taller man reached him first. Malik Jackson?" His voice was deep, emotionless. Malik hesitated, gripping his backpack straps. Yeah." The man's lips curled slightly. Not quite a smile, more like a recognition. "My name is Mr. Klein," the man said, glancing briefly at his partner before turning back to Malik. "This is Mr. Graves. We work for Mr. Montgomery." Malik swallowed hard. "Oh. Okay." Klein reached into his suit pocket and pulled out a sleek black business card. He handed it to Malik. The only thing written on it was a phone number. "No name, no company, just a number. Mr. Montgomery would like to thank you personally for returning his wallet," Klein said. "Would you be willing to come with us?" Malik's fingers tightened around the card. Come with them? He was suddenly very aware that they had parked in the middle of an empty street. That no one else was close enough to hear this conversation. He forced a nervous chuckle. I don't think my mom would like that." Klein's expression didn't change. "It won't take long. Just a brief conversation. And Mr. Montgomery is very generous." Malik's stomach twisted. The way Klein said that last part, very generous, it was almost like a bribe. "No, thanks," Malik said quickly. I have to get home." A flicker of something passed through Klein's eyes. A warning? Annoyance? He exhaled through his nose and nodded. "Understood," he said smoothly. Mr. Graves, the silent one, pulled something out of his jacket and handed it to Malik. An envelope. Malik hesitated before taking it. It was thick. "Mr. Montgomery's appreciation," Klein said. Malik's breath caught. Money. It had to be money. His heart pounded as he held the envelope in his hands. He didn't even have to open it, he could feel the weight, the thickness of the bills inside. "We'll be in touch," Klein said. Then, without another word, he and Graves turned and walked back to the SUV. The doors shut with a quiet thunk, and the vehicle pulled away, disappearing down the street as if it had never been there. Malik stood frozen, gripping the envelope. Every instinct told him this wasn't just a thank you. This was something else. Something bigger. Something dangerous. He slowly opened the envelope, his hands trembling. Inside, staring back at him, was $10,000 in cash. The envelope and the warning. Malik stood frozen on the school steps, his fingers clutching the thick envelope like it was burning his hands. His heartbeat roared in his ears as he stared at the crisp stacks of bills inside, $10,000. His mind raced. This wasn't just a thank you. This was hush money. A bribe. A test. A warning. His stomach twisted. He wanted nothing more than to shove the envelope back at them, but the black SUV was already gone, swallowed by the city streets. The men in suits had vanished like ghosts, leaving behind only questions. Malik inhaled sharply and stuffed the envelope into his backpack, zipping it up with shaking hands. He couldn't be standing outside like this, looking suspicious. If anyone saw, if word got out, he didn't even want to think about what might happen. He had to get home. Secrets and lies. The walk home felt different. The neighborhood looked the same, the cracked sidewalks, the smell of fried chicken drifting from Miss Parker's kitchen window, kids shouting at each other over a game of streetball, but everything felt off. Malik couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching him. Every passing car made his shoulders tighten. Every time he turned a corner, he half expected that black SUV to be idling there, its tinted windows hiding watchful eyes. By the time he reached his apartment building, he was drenched in sweat. He climbed the stairs two at a time, his fingers fumbling with the keys. The second the door clicked shut behind him, he locked it, deadbolt and chain. His mom wouldn't be home for hours. She worked double shifts at the hospital, which meant Malik had time to think. to figure out what the hell was going on. Dropping his backpack onto the kitchen table, he unzipped it and carefully pulled out the envelope. He spread the cash across the surface, his fingers shaking as he counted. $10,000. More money than he had ever seen in his life. And it didn't feel right. This wasn't his. He needed to call someone. Someone who could help him figure out what to do next. Reaching for his phone, he hesitated. Who? Not the cops. They wouldn't believe him. A black kid from a poor neighborhood? They'd probably think he stole the money. Not his mom. She had enough on her plate. Not his friends. They'd either tell him to spend it or get scared and back away. That left one option. Mr. Owens. The teacher who knew too much. Mr. Owens had been Malik's history teacher last year. He wasn't just a teacher, he actually cared. He'd stayed late to help Malik with assignments, talked to him about college, and even gave him advice when things got rough at home. If anyone could help, it was him. Malik pulled up his number and hesitated before pressing call. Ringing. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then, a click. Hello? Mr. Owens, it's me. Malik. A brief pause. Malik? Hey, kid, everything okay? Malik swallowed hard. I think I need help. Another pause. Then, softer, what happened? Malik glanced at the money spread across the table, the sight making his stomach churn. I found a wallet, he began. A really expensive one. I returned it, and now, some guys showed up at my school. They gave me money. A lot of it. Silence. Then, Mr. Owens spoke carefully. How much money? 10,000. A sharp inhale. You need to listen to me very carefully, Malik. Don't spend it. Don't even touch it. And don't trust anyone. Malik's throat went dry. What do you mean? I mean, this isn't just about a lost wallet anymore. Mr. Owens' voice had dropped lower, serious. People don't hand out 10 grand for no reason. If they gave it to you, it's because they want something. Malik ran a hand over his face. He had felt it, something wasn't right, but hearing it from someone else made it real. What do I do? He asked. A long silence. Then. Where are you now? At home. Lock your doors. Stay inside. I'm coming over. Before Malik could respond, the line went dead. The shadow in the hallway. Malik paced the apartment, checking the locks again. His nerves were shot. His gut told him he had just stepped into something way bigger than he could handle. He kept glancing at the clock. Mr. Owens wasn't far, maybe 15 minutes away. He just had to wait. And then. A sound. A soft tap 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 against the door. Malik froze. That wasn't Mr. Owens. He would have called first. Another tap. And then. A voice. Malik. We know you're in there. His blood ran cold. The voice was deep, smooth, and familiar. Klein. Malik's grip tightened around his phone. He took a slow step back, his pulse hammering. We need to talk, Klein continued. Open the door. Malik didn't move. He didn't breathe. A shadow passed under the door. There was more than one of them. Malik. The voice was still calm, but there was an edge to it now. A warning. It's not a good idea to ignore us. Malik's hands shook. He looked at the window. Could he climb down? No. Too high. His heart pounded as he backed toward his bedroom. If he stayed quiet, would they leave? Another knock. Harder this time. Then. The doorknob twisted. They were trying to get in. Malik grabbed his phone and sprinted into his room, locking the door behind him. His phone buzzed. "Mr. Owens." He answered in a whisper. "They're here." A pause. Then. "Malik, listen to me. Don't panic. I'm 5 minutes away." Outside, the front door rattled. "You have something they want," Mr. Owens said. "Whatever you do, don't give it to them." Malik swallowed hard. "And if they don't take no for an answer?" A long pause. Then, Mr. Owens' voice, low and serious. "Then you run. The chase begins." Malik pressed his back against the door, gripping his phone like a lifeline. His heartbeat was a relentless hammer in his chest. They were trying to get in. The doorknob rattled again. Harder this time. "Think, Malik. Think." His apartment was small, 2 bedrooms, a tiny living room, and a kitchen. No back door. His bedroom window overlooked the alley, 3 floors up. Too high to jump. His phone buzzed again. "Mr. Owens." Malik answered in a whisper. "They're at my door." "I'm almost there," Mr. Owens said, voice tense. "Are they inside yet?" Another sharp knock. "Not yet." "Good. Listen to me. Get out of sight. Stay low. Don't make a sound. But there's no way out." A pause. Then, "Your fire escape. Is it clear?" Malik's head snapped toward the window. The old, rusted fire escape clung to the side of the building like a skeleton. He hadn't used it in years. I think so." "Then that's your exit." Malik hesitated. If he climbed down, they could see him. If he stayed, they'd find him. Neither option felt safe. Then, bang. A loud, violent thud against the front door. His stomach lurched. "Go, Malik." "Now," Mr. Owens ordered. "The escape." Malik moved. Fast. He shoved his phone into his hoodie pocket, yanked open the window, and climbed out onto the narrow fire escape. The metal groaned under his weight. "Don't look down." Wind whipped his face as he gripped the railing and began his descent. Clang. 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 Every step echoed in the alley below. He was halfway down when. Crash. From inside his apartment, the sound of wood splintering. They'd kicked the door in. Malik's breath caught in his throat. They were inside. A voice, sharp and commanding. "Check the rooms." No time. He had to move. Malik reached the second-floor landing just as a figure appeared at his bedroom window. Klein. Their eyes met. For a split second, neither moved. Then. "He's on the fire escape," Klein shouted. Malik jumped. The rooftop run. He hit the ground hard. His ankle twisted, sending a jolt of pain up his leg, but he couldn't stop. Footsteps thundered above. They were coming after him. Malik took off, sprinting down the alley. His backpack slammed against his shoulders as he zigzagged through dumpsters and broken crates. At the alley's end, a chain-link fence blocked his path. Too high to climb fast. No choice. He ran straight for it, leapt, and scrambled up the metal links. Behind him, the fire escape rattled. They were gaining. Malik threw himself over the top, hit the pavement on the other side, and kept running. Don't stop. He cut through a parking lot, jumped over a low brick wall, and burst onto the next street. Cars. People. Lights. Safety? No. The black SUV was waiting. Trapped. The tinted window rolled down. Klein sat in the passenger seat, watching him. Smirking. "You're fast, kid," he called. "But not fast enough." Malik spun, looking for another escape. But two more men in suits were closing in from behind. His stomach twisted. He was cornered. Klein stepped out of the SUV, adjusting his tie. His calm, measured steps sent a chill down Malik's spine. "I gotta admit," Klein said, "I thought you'd take the money and keep quiet. But you're a tough one." Malik's fists clenched. "I don't want your money." Klein chuckled. "Oh, I know. That's the problem." The other two men flanked Malik. He could feel the tension in the air, one wrong move, and they'd grab him. Then. Tires screeched. Headlights flashed. A car skidded into the street, stopping inches from Malik. The door flew open. "Get in. Mr. Owens." The getaway. Malik didn't think. He jumped in. Mr. Owens slammed the gas pedal. The tires screeched as the car peeled away, sending the men diving back. Malik barely had time to catch his breath before Mr. Owens took a sharp turn, speeding through back streets. "Seatbelt. Now," Mr. Owens ordered. Malik clicked it in, heart still hammering. "Who the hell are those guys?" Mr. Owens' hands tightened on the wheel. "Trouble." Malik ran a shaking hand through his hair. "They're after the wallet." "But why? What's in it?" Mr. Owens hesitated. Then, glancing in the rearview mirror, he said, "It's not the wallet, Malik. It's what's hidden inside." Malik's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" Mr. Owens exhaled sharply. "The guy you returned it to, Montgomery? He's not just a millionaire. He's dangerous. And that wallet? It has something that could bring him down." Malik stared. "Like, what?" Mr. Owens' jaw tensed. "Proof." "Proof of what?" A pause. Then, quiet but heavy. "That he's killed people. A dangerous secret." Malik's breath caught. What do you mean he's killed people?" "Exactly what it sounds like," Mr. Owens said. "Montgomery is a businessman. A powerful one. But his wealth didn't come from smart investments. It came from blood money. Bribes. Cover-ups. People disappearing." Malik's skin went cold. "And the wallet?" "There's a hidden compartment," Mr. Owens said. "Most people wouldn't notice it. But inside, there's a flash drive." "A flash drive?" Mr. Owens nodded. "Documents. Bank records. Names. Proof that Montgomery has been paying off cops, judges, and politicians. That he's had people, innocent people, killed." Malik's stomach twisted. "And now," Mr. Owens continued, "he knows you have it." Malik swallowed hard. "But, I don't have it. I gave the wallet back." "Doesn't matter," Mr. Owens said. "If you saw anything at all, they won't let you walk away." Malik's hands curled into fists. "So what do we do?" Mr. Owens' jaw tightened. "We find that flash drive." Malik blinked. "Wait. Find? You mean it's still out there?" Mr. Owens met his gaze. "Montgomery thinks you have it." He turned back to the road. "But I have a feeling. It's still in your school. The hunt for the truth." Malik's mind raced as Mr. Owens sped through the darkened streets. The city lights flickered past in a blur, but all he could think about was what Mr. Owens had just told him. A millionaire. A murderer. A flash drive with proof of his crimes. And somehow, he was caught in the middle of it all. He clenched his fists, his voice barely above a whisper. You think it's still at my school? Mr. Owens nodded, eyes locked on the road. I do. If you never saw the drive, that means Montgomery's men never found it either. And that means it's still out there, somewhere close to where you found the wallet. Malik thought back to that moment. The curb outside the bus stop. The worn leather against the cracked pavement. His stomach tightened. The security guards patrol that area all the time, he said. If I didn't see the drive, maybe someone else did. Mr. Owens nodded. Exactly. And if someone picked it up? They're in danger too, Malik finished. Silence stretched between them. The weight of it pressed down on Malik's chest. He wasn't just trying to save himself anymore. Someone else had the flash drive. And if Montgomery's people got to them first, they wouldn't survive the night. Back to the scene. Mr. Owens parked 2 blocks away from the school. We walk from here. No sudden movements. No drawing attention to ourselves. Malik nodded. The streets were quiet, most of the city had settled in for the night. But they weren't alone. Parked across the street from the school was a black SUV. Malik's stomach clenched. Montgomery's men. They were watching. Waiting. They know, Malik whispered. Mr. Owens placed a hand on his shoulder. They suspect. They don't know for sure. That's our advantage. Malik swallowed hard. So what's the plan? We check the bus stop first. If nothing's there, we start asking questions. Questions? From who? Security guards, janitors, students, anyone who might have seen something unusual. Malik hesitated. And if we find the drive? Mr. Owens exhaled sharply. Then we run. A dangerous discovery. The school loomed ahead, dark and silent. They moved carefully, sticking to the shadows. Malik's heart pounded as they reached the bus stop. The spot where he had found the wallet was still there, but empty. No sign of the flash drive. Nothing, Malik muttered. Mr. Owens scanned the area. Someone must have picked it up. Malik's mind raced. Who was around that day? Who else could have seen it? Then it hit him. The janitor, he whispered. Mr. Carter. Mr. Owens frowned. You sure? Malik nodded. He cleans the front of the school every afternoon. He was there that day, sweeping near the curb. If anyone found something, it was him. Mr. Owens didn't hesitate. Then we find him. Now. A race against time. Mr. Carter lived in a small apartment complex 5 blocks away. They reached his building within minutes. It was old, paint peeling, windows covered with metal bars. No sign of movement. Malik hesitated before knocking. What if Montgomery's men had already been here? What if they were too late? He knocked anyway. Once. Twice. No answer. Mr. Carter. Malik called. It's Malik. From the school. A moment of silence. Then, a shuffle from inside. The door opened just a crack. Mr. Carter peered out, eyes darting nervously. Malik, he whispered. What are you doing here? Mr. Owens stepped forward. We need to talk. Mr. Carter hesitated. Then, reluctantly, he unlatched the chain and let them in. The apartment was small but neat. A couch, a TV, a few framed photos on the walls. But something felt off. The curtains were drawn tight. A chair was pushed up against the door, as if he had been trying to block it. Mr. Carter's hands trembled as he sat down. You shouldn't be here, he muttered. Malik sat across from him. Mr. Carter, I need to ask you something. A few days ago, near the bus stop, did you Mr. Carter cut him off. You mean this? He reached under the couch, and pulled out a small, silver flash drive. Malik's breath caught. They had found it. Mr. Owens took the drive, turning it over in his hands. Did anyone else see you pick it up? Mr. Carter swallowed hard. I don't know. But, someone's been watching me. Malik's chest tightened. Montgomery's men. Mr. Carter nodded. I don't know what's on that thing, but whatever it is, they want it bad. A sudden thud outside. Mr. Owens' head snapped toward the door. Footsteps. Heavy. Getting closer. Then, a knock. Mr. Carter? A deep voice called. Open up. Malik's stomach dropped. Mr. Carter's face turned pale. Oh God, they found me. Trapped. Mr. Owens acted fast. He grabbed Malik's arm. We need to go. Now. But. Bang. The door shook. Open the door, the voice commanded. Or we break it down. Mr. Carter's eyes were wide with fear. There's no way out. Mr. Owens scanned the room. Then, his eyes locked onto the window. That's our way out, he said. Mr. Carter paled. That leads to the fire escape. Better than the front door, Mr. Owens said. Move. Malik didn't hesitate. He ran to the window, throwing it open. Cold night air rushed in. Mr. Carter hesitated. I can't. I'm too old for this. Malik turned to him, voice urgent. If you stay, they'll kill you. Mr. Carter swallowed hard. Bang. The door splintered. Go. Mr. Owens ordered. Malik climbed through first, gripping the fire escape railing. His hands were slick with sweat. Mr. Carter followed, struggling to maneuver his large frame through the tight window. Inside the apartment. The door shattered. Heavy boots stomped inside. They're gone, a man barked. Malik didn't wait. He climbed down as fast as he could. The great escape. They reached the alley just as the door to the fire escape burst open above. There. Gunfire erupted. Bullets pinged against the metal stairs. Mr. Owens pulled Malik behind a dumpster. Stay down. The black SUV screeched into the alley, headlights flashing. Doors flew open. More men. Guns drawn. Malik's heart pounded. They were surrounded. Then, another car roared into the alley. It skidded to a stop, blocking the SUV. The driver's door flew open. And a woman stepped out. Dressed in all black. A badge glinted on her belt. FBI, she shouted, gun raised. Drop your weapons. Montgomery's men froze. Malik's breath caught. What the hell was happening? Mr. Owens exhaled. Took you long enough. The woman smirked. You always were impatient. She turned to Malik. You're safe now, kid. Malik stared at her, still breathing hard. Safe? Somehow, he doubted that. Because Montgomery wouldn't give up that easily. And this fight was far from over, the final stand. Malik's pulse thundered in his ears as the FBI agent stood before him, gun raised, eyes locked onto Montgomery's men. The alley was silent except for the faint hum of the car engine and the sharp clicks of weapons being drawn. The man leading Montgomery's crew, a tall, scar-faced figure in a black suit, slowly lifted his hands, though the smug smirk on his face made it clear he wasn't afraid. FBI, huh? His voice was smooth, calm. This is a misunderstanding, Agent. We were just having a friendly conversation. The FBI agent didn't blink. Step away from the SUV. Hands where I can see them. The scarred man chuckled. "You're making a mistake." Mr. Owens tightened his grip on Malik's shoulder. "Stay close, kid." Malik barely nodded, his mind racing. The flash drive was still in Mr. Owens' pocket. The evidence against Montgomery. Would the FBI really protect them? Or were they in on it too? Then, the woman made her move. She lunged forward, disarming one of the men in a single, practiced motion. A gunshot rang out, a bullet grazed a trash bin inches from Malik's leg. Chaos erupted. The firefight. Montgomery's men weren't surrendering. In an instant, the alley became a war zone. Bullets tore through the night. Sparks flew as metal scraped against metal. Malik ducked behind the dumpster, his heart pounding so loud he couldn't hear anything else. Mr. Owens yanked him back just as another shot shattered the air right where he had been standing. "Run!" Mr. Owens roared. Malik didn't hesitate. He bolted. He dashed toward the street, his sneakers skidding on the wet pavement. He didn't look back, he didn't need to. He knew they were coming. The chase. Malik's lungs burned as he sprinted down the block. Footsteps thundered behind him. They weren't going to let him go. Not with the flash drive still out there. He needed to think fast. The city blurred around him, storefronts, streetlights, moving cars. He weaved through an intersection, nearly colliding with a speeding motorcycle. A deep voice behind him shouted, "Stop!" Like hell. He cut through a parking lot, leaping over a low fence and landing hard on the other side. But then, he hit a dead end. A high chain-link fence loomed in front of him. No time. He jumped, scrambling, climbing. The sound of rushed footsteps reached his ears. They were right behind him. One of Montgomery's men grabbed his ankle. Malik kicked back. His foot connected with the man's jaw. The thug let out a strangled grunt and stumbled back. That was his chance. Malik swung his legs over the top of the fence, dropped down, and hit the ground running. The safe house. By the time he reached Mr. Owens' car, parked in a secluded lot far away from the fight, his chest was heaving. The FBI agent and Mr. Owens were already there, waiting for him. She wasn't even out of breath. "You're faster than I expected, kid," she said. Malik ignored her. "Do you have it?" Mr. Owens nodded. He held up the flash drive. "It's time to end this," he said. The agent exhaled. "Then let's go." Malik frowned. "Go where?" She glanced at him. "To take Montgomery down. Confronting the monster." 20 minutes later, they pulled into an underground parking garage beneath a massive, glass-fronted skyscraper. Montgomery's headquarters. Malik's stomach churned. "Are we seriously walking in there?" he asked. The FBI agent adjusted her bulletproof vest. "Not walking. Storming." Mr. Owens smirked. "Don't worry, kid. We're not alone." Then, from the shadows, more agents appeared. Armed. Ready. Malik's eyes widened. An entire FBI task force. The agent pulled out a tablet and tapped the screen. "We've got Montgomery's entire operation wired. The moment we show him this flash drive, it's over." Malik exhaled. "And if he refuses?" She looked at him. "Then we make sure he has no choice." The final showdown. Inside Montgomery's office, the air was thick with tension. The man himself sat behind a massive desk, a whiskey glass in one hand, his cold blue eyes locked onto them. Malik's hands clenched into fists. This man had tried to kill him. Montgomery set his glass down and smiled. Well. I was wondering when you'd show up." The FBI agent didn't hesitate. She tossed the flash drive onto his desk. "You're finished, Montgomery." The millionaire chuckled. "Oh? And what exactly do you think you have there?" The agent smirked. "Enough to bury you." Montgomery's expression didn't change. But Malik noticed something, a flicker of unease. He wasn't untouchable anymore. The agent pulled out her radio. "We're bringing him in." A pause. Then, static. Silence. Her face changed. Something was wrong. Montgomery's smirk widened. "You should have known, Agent Carter. I own this city." Then, the lights cut out. The final fight. Darkness swallowed the room. Malik froze. Then, gunfire. Mr. Owens shoved him down. "Stay low." Malik's heart pounded as the room exploded into chaos. Shouting. Fighting. A fist connected with flesh. A gun clattered to the floor. Malik scrambled away. He needed a weapon, something. Then he saw it. A metal lamp on Montgomery's desk. His fingers closed around it. He turned, just as Montgomery lunged at him. Malik swung. Crack. The lamp connected with Montgomery's head. The man staggered. Then, Mr. Owens tackled him to the ground. The agents swarmed. Montgomery was pinned. Cuffed. It was over. Aftermath. By the time the lights flickered back on, Montgomery was being dragged away. The FBI agent wiped blood from her mouth. "You did good, kid." Malik barely processed the words. His body felt numb. "It's over," Mr. Owens said. Malik swallowed hard. "Is it?" Mr. Owens met his eyes. "For now." Malik took a deep breath. The nightmare was finally over. But he knew one thing for sure. His life would never be the same again.